Last night was a good one in Prairie Village. Good morning, 6:05. Happy Friday. Glad you are joining us on a Red Friday here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Stream us all morning long on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So last night I was in Prairie Village for a debate between their city council members. And if you're sitting there right now and you're like, I don't care, it's Prairie Village, it's 23,000 people. No. Prairie Village is in many ways a microcosm of all the issues that we talk about around Kansas City in some of our local governments. The increases in property taxes, what is good, efficient, smart government spending, and whether or not the direction is one of increasing the government or one in trying to not even shrink the government, but just limit the growth of the government to some kind of reasonable rate, which has not happened in Prairie Village in recent years. And to the credit of folks in Prairie Village, they've actually organized really well, and they put together this slate of candidates who are not on board with the current growth of government in that community. Now, I don't know if you can duplicate this in an Olathe, in an Overland Park. I mean, Prairie Village is so unique in terms of the geographical size being pretty small, obviously, the population being relatively dense for a suburban community. It's just, you can't really do that and create that in an Overland Park or an Olathe because it's just so big, it's so different. But Prairie Village is not like that. So you've got these city council races here coming up over the next couple of weeks or so, and they had this debate last night, 91st and Knoll, down there at Meadowbrook, and they asked me to just basically do the debate and run it for them. So we had 3 questions, took about an hour and a half. There were 12 candidates up there because they've got 6 wards, and then they have 2 people per ward, and they had a full slate of folks last night. So it's, listen, Prairie Village has a lot of city council members for 23,000 people. They got 12 of them plus a mayor, 2 in each ward, and then you got the mayor. So it's a big group. But anyway, this is what stood out to me last night. And we've talked about this on the show. And this is an issue that has surfaced in other communities here around Johnson County, Kansas in particular. But it's really an issue in all of local government, not just in Kansas City, but around the country. And that is over the last few years with home costs skyrocketing, appreciations going up, are your local communities doing everything in their power to limit the increases in property taxes, which of course go then to their bottom line? Or are they using the increased value of the home to basically grow government? And in too many cases, they're doing the latter. This is not unique to Prairie Village. It's happening all over Johnson County. The difference is Prairie Village has put together a group that is actually trying to combat that, and they're well organized, and they're well funded, and they're doing these things that a lot of other communities are just not doing right now. So this was the first question. It was part of a $30 million proposal that we've talked about here on the show to have a new city hall. Do you think that's a good way to spend your money? That was basically the question. $30 million for a new city hall in Prairie Village. Is that a good way to spend your money? And the best answer came from this guy, John Beater. He's once again running on this platform of slowing down the growth of government in Prairie Village. Take a listen to these numbers. And this is something that's being considered in Overland Park as well. They have plans on a brand new city hall in Overland Park. But this is what John Beater said about that Prairie Village option last night.
The building that we are proposing to build is a $23 million building. It's about 23,000 square feet for 22 employees. That's $1 million an employee. So I scratch my head and I go, wow, that seems a little high. But I need to be fair. Someone's thought this through. So I looked at the fact that it was $1,000 a square foot, and I said, what other buildings have been built around Johnson County that are public buildings that might be comparable to our city hall? How about the Tomahawk Elementary School over on Lamar? You all know that one? Okay. $31 million building, just completed, 80,000 square feet, $400 a square foot. How about the Mission City Hall? $300 a square foot. The Roland Park City Hall, $400 a square foot. How about the fire stations that we just built, 2 of them, between $300 and $400 a square foot each? Our Prairie Village Town Hall, $1,000 a square foot.
$1,000 a square foot is the proposal for literally 24 employees to have a new city hall in Prairie Village. Do you think that is a good use of the taxpayer dollar? Is that an efficient use of the taxpayer dollar? That's the question. That's in part what their election up there is going to come down to. Now, I get it. You know, I heard all sides of this, and there's an argument that is made on the other side of basically saying, hey, you know, sometimes you're better off building new than trying to patch things and trying to basically Band-Aid projects, and then it ends up costing you more money in the long run. I understand that. I mean, I think we all do, whether it's, you know, your home or a business, whatever it might be, a car. There are times when it just makes sense to start fresh. I get it. But those numbers are amazing. When Mission is doing a city hall $300 a square foot, Roland Park $400 a square foot, and then you're talking about $1,000 a square foot. I mean, even if we're talking about inflation differences here, that is astronomical. And is that something that makes sense right now if you are a resident in Prairie Village? And this is an issue that will come up in other communities as well. And ask yourself this, as just a regular resident in whatever community you're in right now. When's the last time you went to your city hall anyway? I can't remember. No one moves to a community because it has a really nice city hall. I'm not saying you want a building that's falling apart. I'm not saying you want a place where the bathrooms don't work and, you know, the police don't have anywhere to sit. And I'm not saying you want that, okay? But Prairie Village is not a great community because of its government spending. No community is. It's made up of its people. And then there's always this disingenuous argument that is made that says, if you want less government spending, you tell me what we're going to cut. If you don't want your streets plowed and your garbage picked up, it's always the same argument. The reality is this. Prairie Village has seen expenditures increase from about $34 million 10 years ago to $56 million. That is not just an increase with inflation. That is a growth of government. 65% increase in expenditures going back 10 years. That is not about, hey, making sure the trash is picked up. That's not about making sure the roads are plowed when it snows. That's not about just simply making sure the police are funded. That is about a clear change in direction for the size, scope, and influence of a local government in a local community. That's what that is about. That's it. And that is really what was on display last night when it comes to the differences in what the election's about specifically in that part of our community. John?
I was just happening to think about the empty office space in some of these municipalities that might be seeking more space at their city hall.
Well, you know, it's interesting you bring that up because that did come up last night.
I don't know about Prairie Village specifically, but I guess that was addressed.
Yeah, it was, because as someone brought up, they said, why are we building this $30 million city hall project without having any idea how the world is going to change over the next 10, 15, 20 years? Look at what's happened over the last 5 years with commercial property. I mean, you can't give it away in certain parts of town.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for 24 employees, we got to build a new city hall at $1 million per employee. That just seems nuts.
Now, I lived in Overland Park for a while. Their city hall's kind of old. They could use a new one, but what? We got a couple floors here, don't we?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, Overland Park's a
right.
prime place where you have retail space open, or not retail, but office space.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And apparently there's going to be a proposal here in the next, I don't know when it's going to happen, after these elections probably, $100-something million city hall they want to build in Overland Park. That's coming as well. So Prairie Village just scratching the surface there with this $30 million project. But it was fascinating to watch it yesterday. And listen, there are some good politicians on the other side. I look at some of the folks that were up there last night. A guy like Cole Robinson, he's smooth. He's not confrontational. He's got deep ties to the Johnson County Democratic Party. And, listen, they were all fine people. Like everyone I heard from and met them all, they were all fine people. We may have different views of the world and what's best for local government, but they were all fine people. But some were clearly much more seasoned and much smoother than others. And we'll just wait to see how that plays out. But yesterday, as I'm going up to Prairie Village, I'm dealing with a lot of chaos because we got canceled on yesterday here at KCMO. And I need your help on a Friday to dig out of this. I'll explain what happened coming up next on KCMO. I knew somebody was going to ask it on the text line, 913-408-7957. Pete, was our old pal Larry in Prairie Village at the gathering last night? No, he was not, but I had, a dozen people come up and either say, where's Larry, or I'm Larry, just to kind of make fun of themselves. But no, we have not heard from our old friend and infamous caller Larry in Prairie Village since sometime around the election of last year. It's been a year. I do hope he's okay. But, man, the amount of Larry and Prairie Village jokes I got last night was, made me feel like we got a strong core of supporters there in Prairie Village, or listeners. I don't know if they're supporters, but listeners for sure. So as I'm going up there last night to this Prairie Village City Council debate, my phone's going nuts because tonight we were scheduled to be at Gardner-Edgerton for the Gardner-Edgerton-Olathe East game. And at the 11th hour, it got canceled on us. I won't speculate as to why. I will just say Gardner-Edgerton canceled at the 11th hour our ability to broadcast their high school football game tonight. And what we do, we do it different from any other broadcast crew in Kansas City that's doing this. We have our professional play-by-play guy, Chris Kamler, who's done some of the biggest events around Kansas City. And then we use a student broadcaster from each team. And it's basically a way to, give future broadcasters a chance to call a game on a big stage. And we call it the drive to the game. And it's just not your typical, hey, let's go call a high school football game. We do this once again with student broadcasters. But they're with a professional play-by-play guy who's running the show for us. And Chris has done an amazing job. This is our first year doing this with sportscaster.com. And it's been an awesome partnership. So we had everything lined up at Gardner-Edgerton. Everything was good. And at the 11th hour yesterday, their AD cancels our ability to broadcast. Supposedly because another broadcast team was going to be there. But once again, if you knew this for a while, why cancel on us at the 11th hour? I don't get it. But I won't speculate as to why. I'll just tell you that that's what happened. So I'm calling people. I can't get a hold of anybody. And now we're like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, I'm just going to throw this out there. If you have a tie to a team, if you have a tie to an AD who wants to have us out tonight for a high school football broadcast, I'm all ears. We need to fill it at 913-408-7957, or you can email us, pete.mundo@cumulus.com, because you know what? We want to do a game. We love Friday Night Lights. We want to be a part of a broadcast tonight and a game tonight. And if a team wants to cancel at the 11th hour, that's their prerogative, I guess. But we'd like to use our resources to go out there and call a game, and your kid can score the game-winning touchdown on KCMO Talk Radio tonight. There you go. So we're just basically an open book. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no, hidden fees here or something like that. It's not like signing up for some premium credit card. It's just get us out there, let us call a game. That's all we got. So we're looking for something right now. 913-408-7957. I am open to any and all of your ideas at this point, because it has been a crazy 12 hours or so on this front, and we just want to put the kids in the spotlight, make this community sound great, which we know it is, and call some high school football. That's all we're looking to do. There's no strings attached. There's nothing else to it. So that's where I'm asking for your help this morning at 913-408-7957. That's the text line and our studio line on KCMO. Pete, you got Aquinas Rockhurst tonight. Well, we've done both of those games. I don't know if we were at Aquinas in the opener or if it was on the road. It may have been a road game. I'm not sure. But we did Rockhurst, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. Mark's really in charge of this whole deal. I signed off on it, but Mark's the guy who's kind of overseeing the whole operation. So he's got to he's got to, tell me what exactly is going on. He knows the high school football scene here much better than I do. I'm still learning it. But one of my, some of my best memories in broadcasting was high school football in Northwest Oklahoma going back 15 years ago now and doing those games. So we all know how valuable it is for this community and, of course, for, people on both sides of the state line. So I'm all in. Just start tossing me ideas, and we'll see where it goes. All right? So, Mark, you let me know. As people start calling in and they're giving you ideas, you got to feed them to me if that works for you. Jeez. I didn't think we'd find ourselves here, but you know what? It happens. It is what it is. We're going to make it. We're going to be okay. In the meantime, Sister Jean passing away. Did you see that, man? We thought something might be up when Sister Jean was announced that she was not going to be a part of Loyola Chicago anymore and being on the sidelines during the games. But now Sister Jean, Loyola basketball superfan, has died at the age of 106. Woo! Would you want to live to 106? I mean, seriously, I don't think a lot about it, being my age. But when I saw the news this morning, I thought, that's amazing. But do I really want to go that long? Or is that something where you step back and you say to yourself, nah, I'm good. I'll take 99. Well, although if you get to 99, you want to get to 100. So give me 100, and then I'll just call it. I think I'm okay. But Sister Jean really had that claim to fame. She became a folk hero during Loyola Chicago's Cinderella run to the Final Four in 2018. She was born August 21st of 1919. Joined the staff at Loyola Chicago in 1991. Became a part of the basketball team in 94, first as an academic advisor before transitioning to chaplain. And she stepped down from her role in August and then passed away yesterday at the age of 106. God bless Sister Jean. What a run. Unbelievable. And I remember that 2018 Final Four like it was yesterday. I was getting ready to move out here to Kansas City when Loyola Chicago made that run to that Final Four. It was pretty amazing stuff, and good on her. Coming up on KCMO, we are just days away from some of the most important people in the government missing a paycheck, the military. What do we do about it next? We are a week and a half into the government shutdown, and these clowns just can't get it all figured out. And that's mostly because, let's be honest, I know you're going to think that this is me being partisan, but you have a Democrat Party that right now won't just do a continuing resolution for 7 weeks. There's no pork that has been thrown in this thing by the Republicans. It's just continue the government spending for the next month and a half while we get the budget figured out. And Democrats have said no. And, of course, they have tied it to what they claim is going to be a massive increase in Obamacare premiums. And that is true because for the last half a decade, it was getting subsidized heavily. And not just for those who are poor or even working class, but for those making six figures. And Republicans in the One Big Beautiful Bill said we're done doing that. It's costing us too much money. We're $37 trillion in debt. And Democrats are like, no, we're shutting down the government for something that you lawfully passed. It would have been like the Republicans shutting down the government over the Inflation Reduction Act that they didn't like, and then later that year in 2021, basically closing the government to try to get concessions tied to the Inflation Reduction Act. That's basically what's going on here. It's exactly what's going on here. So now we're on day 10 of the shutdown, and we're getting to the point where you are going to have critical workers like our military missing a paycheck. If they don't reopen the government by Monday, the military is not going to get paid next week. That's an embarrassment, especially when Congress is getting paid through the shutdown. I mean, how bad of a look is that? You're going to have the politicians getting paid while the men and women in the military aren't. My gosh. And frankly, I think that's part of the political calculation for the Democrats here. They believe that since the Republicans have the political power even though they need the Democrats to get to 60 votes in the Senate to pass this continuing resolution and open up the government. I believe what they're doing in part is basically relying on the fact that people are not going to pay attention. They'll see a government shutdown. They'll see the headlines about the military not getting paid, and they'll blame Trump. And they'll blame the Republicans, knowing that they technically have the power and the majority in the House and the Senate, without really knowing that they need the Democrats to get to 60 votes. And what they're trying to do is just keep the government spending exactly where it's at right now for the time being in order to reopen the government. That's it. But their political calculation is that people are not going to pay attention to those details. And guess what? They might be right about that. So they're hoping that actually as time goes on, this is a net benefit for the Democrats politically. And Republicans are sitting there and they're saying, we're not budging because we're doing what you guys did under Biden, which is just a continuing resolution. We're not trying to do it. There's nothing for us to concede here because we haven't added anything to this CR, this continuing resolution. So we're not going to concede anything. What you're asking us to do is basically go back on legislation that we fairly and lawfully passed over the summer, and we're not doing that. But now you're going to have the military tied into this, and that's where it becomes messy. Here was Mike Johnson on C-SPAN yesterday talking to a caller who said that she was a Republican voter who had a spouse in the military and that this was going to have a major impact on their family. And take a listen to what that sounded like.
From his 2 tours in Afghanistan. If we see a lapse in pay come the 15th, my children do not get to get the medication that's needed for them to live their life because we live paycheck to paycheck. I heard you earlier say that you side with President Trump on anything that he says. Well, I just read an article this morning that said he absolutely wholeheartedly believes that there needs to be legislation put in so that we do not miss a paycheck. You have the power to do that. And as a Republican, I'm very disappointed in my party, and I'm very disappointed in you because you do have the power to call the House back. You did that, or you refused to do that just for a show. I am begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die. We don't have the credit because of the medical bills that I have to pay regularly. You could stop this, and you could be the one that could say military is getting paid. And I think that it is awful, and the audacity of someone who makes 6 figures a year to do this to military families is insane.
All right, Samantha.
Samantha, I'm so sorry to hear about your situation. The reason I've been so angry this week, and they've been calling me out on media, Johnson's angry. I am angry because of situations just like yours. I have a big military district, and my district is the home of the Global Strike Command at Barksdale Air Force Base and Fort Polk, the Joint Readiness Training Center. I have one of the biggest military districts and military families in America. I have a lot of airmen and soldiers who are deployed right now, and they have young families at home, and they have children in health situations like yours. This is what keeps me up at night. I want you to hear something very clearly. The Republicans are the ones delivering for you. We had a vote to pay the troops. It was the continuing resolution 3 weeks ago. Every single Republican but 2 voted to keep the government open.
So that was Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, yesterday on C-SPAN. Now, this is where it will get potentially ugly for the Republicans if the military is not getting paid. But the president's saying here in the last couple of days that he is considering options to make sure that members of the military are paid if the government shutdown does drag on. And those options include the president shifting available funds or pressing Republican leaders to put a standalone troop bill on the floor, according to one of the officials. So there are options that can be done to make sure the military gets paid. And they've got to figure out a way to do it. Because it will be, even though it's not fair, I'm sitting here telling you, it's not fair for the Republicans to be the ones who get blamed for any of this. But the optics are as such for that people who aren't paying attention. They'll look at the government, they'll say Trump and the Republicans are in charge, they're all getting paid, and now the military isn't. And if you're explaining in politics, you are losing. Mike's in Kansas City. Go ahead, Mike. You're on KCMO.
Okay, every time this topic's discussed, it has to be called the Schumer shutdown.
And you took the words out of what I was going to say. Trump needs to do either an executive order or special resolution or shifting of funds, and he specifically needs to call it the Schumer Shutdown Military Protection Act. Or something along that line.
That's great.
Schumer needs to get the blame for this all along, and he needs to get if he has to do a special address to the country, he said, our people who put their lives on the line for this country, we will not forget you. We will not let you suffer because of Charles Schumer and the Schumer shutdown. You will be paid. We will take care of you. We got your back. We got your six. We're going to take care of you. This is the way they need to do this. They need to throw this right back into that corrupt piece of garbage, Schumer's face, and all the other people in there that are playing games with this. And, I mean, this has to go – he has to go nuclear on this. I mean, he has to go so hard on this that, everybody's going to start calling it the Schumer shutdown. And the RNC needs to start running commercials everywhere. Call Charles Schumer. Tell her to stop resisting this. You're making people suffer, Charles. And then play all the things back where he was talking about clean resolutions over the last, 6-8 cycles that this has gone on. Play his own words. He goes, you wanted a clean resolution in the past. Now you're playing politics because you're afraid of AOC. Don't do that. You're making people suffer because of your vanity.
That's well said there, Mike. I vote you to run the RNC. They're worthless as far as I can tell anyway, so nice job. You're right, though. They've got to, and Trump's got to lead the way if we get there come Monday, which apparently is the last day they would be able to reopen to get paid on time. Trump's got to lead the way on this. Larry's in Topeka. Larry, go ahead. You're on KCMO, my man.
Good morning. I agree that the RNC is worthless. But anyway, about the interview with Speaker Johnson, I kind of have to wonder about that because when I was serving, my kids were fully covered under military medical care. I didn't have any medical bills, and I had a son with asthma, so there would have been some bills. I'm just wondering about that interview.
I thought the same thing, and I obviously thank you, Larry, and thanks for your service. I can't confirm or deny either way. I mean, yeah, part of me was listening to that and being like, this feels planted, but whatever. It's I can't prove that, so you just got to take it for what it's worth. But it doesn't really change the broader point here, which is that this topic, if the military's not getting paid by next week, will come back to bite the Republicans if they're not planning and thinking ahead as to how they're going to combat it. Now, in 2018, 2019, when there was that government shutdown during Trump's first term, most active duty military personnel continued to be paid. But you had members of the Coast Guard who were under the Department of Homeland Security who did not receive pay because the funding was different with DHS compared to the Department of Defense. So whatever Trump can do, executive order-wise, shifting money around to make sure the military gets paid, and I guarantee you his team is doing that right now, all right, has to happen. Because not just is it the right thing to do, but the political optics could be, politically speaking, deadly for the GOP if they don't think ahead on this one. Well, the president did not get the Nobel Peace Prize. He made a big push for it yesterday. He was like the college basketball coach on the eve of March Madness who thinks he might miss the tournament, just like lobbying real hard and making a strong play, being like, here's my resume. Let me in. Let my team in as an 11 seed, please. That was the president. The difference is the president had a real case to make. All right, when you get those guys on March Madness who are like, we must get in. We're the 68th best team in the country. It's like, guys, 68 teams make this darn thing. You had 3 months to figure out how to get a couple more wins. I don't feel sorry for you. But Trump had a strong case to win the Nobel Peace Prize, especially in the wake of what happened this week with this deal between Israel and Hamas. But it was announced this morning by the Norwegian Nobel Committee that the Nobel Peace Prize is going to Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado for promoting democratic rights in her country. But it doesn't take away from the president making the case yesterday as to why he deserved the Nobel Peace Prize, and also making sure that he took a shot at Obama along the way, because of course.
I know this, that nobody in history has solved 8 wars in a period of 9 months. And I've stopped 8 wars. So that's never happened before. But they'll have to do what they do. Whatever they do is fine. I know this. I didn't do it for that. I did it because I saved a lot of lives. And that's the thing that bothers me so much about the Russia-Ukraine. 7,000 people are dying a week. Young soldiers. They're almost all soldiers of Ukraine and Russia. So in theory, it doesn't affect us, no, but it's a terrible thing. And we'll get that solved, too. But nobody has ever done 8 wars. Nobody's done 8 wars in 30 years, let alone 9 months.
All right, so that was Trump yesterday making his case for the Nobel Peace Prize. And some of you are like, all right, what are these wars? I'm just going to run through them real quick, and then you can do the research on your own time. Armenia and Azerbaijan, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. You've got Israel and Iran on the list as well. India and Pakistan, Egypt and Ethiopia. So those are the big ones that the president says, of course, he has ended. And now, of course, you've got Israel and Hamas on the list as well. But those are when you're like, what is he talking about, 7, 8 wars? Those are the highlights of what he's referring to there. And there's no doubt that he's done a very good job. He has brought, in many ways, peace back to the world stage and order back to the world stage because we're done with the substitute teacher who was there for the last few years.
Come on, man.
But, of course, the president also made sure that he took a little swipe at Obama, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009.
He got a prize for doing nothing. Exactly. Obama got a prize. He didn't even know what he got. He got elected, and they gave it to Obama for doing absolutely nothing but destroying our country. No, he was not a good president. The worst president was Sleepy Joe Biden. But Obama was not a good president.
Are you going to do something with the
They gave him a prize. How many months after he won the election, then they gave him the Peace Prize, right?
It was right after he was elected.
My election was a much more important election.
Oh, man, he never disappoints on this stuff. He just never disappoints. Obama didn't even know why he got the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, to take you back to that time, Obama in 2009 got the Peace Prize for his promotion of nuclear non-proliferation and a new climate in international relations, especially in reaching out to the Muslim world. It was an absolute bunch of BS is what it was. It was. They wanted to give Obama a peace prize. They found a reason to do it. Basically, he went around the Middle East and apologized for American exceptionalism, and he bowed to all those, third world dictators on the other side of the world. And they were like, oh, that looked good. Let's give this guy the Nobel Peace Prize. So he's actually not wrong at all. But, of course, he does that in a very Trumpian way. And you can tell it ticks him off that Obama's got a Nobel Peace Prize. Obama doesn't even know why he got a Nobel Peace Prize, he says. And he does not have one yet. You just know that is clearly still under his skin. And you know what? Of those two guys, I guarantee you that Trump deserves that Nobel Peace Prize based on foreign policy and foreign affairs far more than Obama ever did. And it annoys him. It absolutely annoys him. And he'll have to wait at least one more year for that Nobel Peace Prize. So we'll see what happens next year. It says a lot, of course, about, the committee is what it really says a lot about and how they operate. All right, so we are at the phase of, what you were saying is happening is actually happening, but it's not happening that much. What do I mean by that? Well, there's obviously been debate in recent days over the government shutdown about whether or not illegal immigrants have access to Medicaid, right? And the first argument that was made by opponents was, no, that doesn't even happen. You guys don't know what you're talking about. That's some conspiracy theory. It's just made up. Well, now we're at the point where we've taken it, a little bit further down the road of truth, where there are mainstream media reports suggesting, yes, it does happen, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a number. So this was from ABC News yesterday. Headline here, emergency Medicaid for undocumented immigrants accounts for less than 1% of state spending, according to a new study. Researchers for Emory University of Colorado, found that of 38 states that had data and Washington, D.C., emergency Medicaid spending for undocumented immigrants amounted to about $9.63 for every resident in those states. according to the research letter published yesterday morning. Now, you might say, well, they make it always sound so innocent. Oh, $9.63 for every resident. If you're okay rounding that up to 10 with me, let's do the math on that. 3 million people in Kansas, $30 million. 6 million people in Missouri, $60 million. That's an average, but I guess that's chump change. So once again, something that 2 weeks ago wasn't happening, was a conspiracy theory, is now happening, but it's not that bad. You see how this goes, John?
Isn't it amazing after 7 days of exposure on a news cycle that you finally kind of go, well, not that much.
Yeah, exactly. So they're admitting it's happening, but they're spinning it as, that's not a big percentage of the overall cost.
Which
What's
is
the
always
big deal?
the next move, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And here's something else in this ABC report that gets overlooked. The authors added the study has limitations, including that 11 states did not report emergency Medicaid spending, and that the analysis did not account for other public spending on undocumented immigrants. They buried that at the bottom of the story. So it's happening. They used data from 38 states. There's 11 states that didn't give them any data. Which states do you think those are? Probably the ones that are abusing the system the most. And then they even add here, it also didn't account for other public spending on illegal immigrants. So now we're at the phase where they're admitting that it happens, but it's really not that bad. The next step is going to be, it is happening, and it's worse than we might have thought. So it's like a play in 3 parts here, and we're in part 2 right now of this play.
Well, it could have the other ending of, well, yeah, it's happening, and what's wrong with you for not wanting to help?
And you racists don't want to help.
Yep.
That's exactly it.
Right.
That's probably
plant the flag and the moral high ground.
Yes. That's probably the 4th part of the play. That's the 4th act right there. And we do know that there are other studies that suggest in California, 35 to 40% of Medicaid spending is on emergency services, which would include services for illegal immigrants. That's just California alone. So we know it's not that bad or as bad, obviously, in Kansas and Missouri as it would be in California, but it certainly is something that happens. And considering the sales pitch for the last couple of weeks was, this doesn't happen anyway, nothing to see here. No, now we have, more traditional media reporting. It does happen, but it's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Now, something that came out of yesterday's news cycle that I was very happy about is what's going on ahead of Columbus Day coming up on Monday, the 13th, Columbus Day. We've got this news. The President of the United States with a big announcement yesterday as it relates to Columbus Day.
This is a particularly important holiday for Italian Americans who celebrate the legacy of Christopher Columbus and the innovation and explorer zeal that he represented.
In other words, we're calling it Columbus Day.
Yes.
That was the press that broke out in applause. Can you believe that? I've never seen that happen before. The press actually broke out in applause. Good. Columbus Day. We're back. Columbus Day, we're back, Italians. We love the Italians.
There you go. I love the Italians. There was Trump yesterday. Bringing back Columbus Day. Indigenous Peoples Day is out. Columbus Day is back, baby. Woo!
Buca de Beppo. We got that bit there where he gets some carbonara.
There
Lots
you
of
go.
peas.
I love it. Columbus Day is back. That's coming up on Monday, a federal holiday since 1892. Columbus Day is in. Indigenous Peoples Day is out. And this is exactly what I voted for.
Just saw on YouTube the Sopranos clip where Dante gets a little pissed when they try to cancel Columbus Day. That's a great episode.
Yeah, I think that's the same episode where Tony is yelling at his kids, "In this house, Christopher Columbus is a hero." Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Put this guy on Mount Rushmore. As someone who's half Italian, put the man on Mount Rushmore, okay? This is enough for me. He can solve 8 wars. He can, make billions of dollars off of tariffs. He can do everything else. But you bring back Columbus Day in our house, he's going on Mount Rushmore as far as I'm concerned.
We love the Italians.
All right, we got some news on when the government might reopen, and it's at least 8 days away. This was Mike Johnson just moments ago on Fox News saying that he believes Chuck Schumer will have the government shut down until at least October 18th. Why? Well, he'll explain here on KCMO. Let's listen in.
A very patient guy, but I have had it with these people. They're playing games with real people's lives. The theory we have right now, they have a Hate America rally that's scheduled for October 18th on the National Mall. It's all the pro-Hamas wing and the Antifa people. They're all coming out. Some of the House Democrats are selling T-shirts for the event, and it's being told to us that they won't be able to reopen the government until after that rally because they can't face their rabid base. I mean, this is serious business hurting real people. And I'm beyond words. I can't believe they're actually doing this.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, you're talking about that No Kings rally. Real quickly before we move on to another topic.
So that was Mike Johnson, Big Mike Johnson, moments ago on Fox News, saying that their belief now is that they can't allow the government to reopen until after the No Kings protests happen next Saturday. So there's one in Kansas City, by the way. It's at Mill Creek Park coming up Saturday, October 18th, No Kings, 2 to 4 p.m. Of course, they call it the Nationwide Day of Defiance. But you guys had one of those a few months ago. I mean, how many do you have to have? No Kings. Trump is the king or something like that, I guess. They gotta fight the king or something. I don't know. Man, they love conjuring up these weird ideas in their minds,
right?
Don't they?
I mean, it's already worked. We don't have a king. So unless they're going to toss out 4 cards out of a deck of 52 there.
I'm pretty sure if Trump was a king, he'd get the government back open, right?
Yeah.
But he can't do that.
It wouldn't close.
Yeah. But we've got, a Congress that is sitting on its hands right now. Mm-hmm. So the whole idea of a No Kings protest actually looks even dumber if the government's shut down because the king would theoretically reopen it. And he can't reopen it because, well, he's not a king. That's why.
Talk about a bombshell.
Oh, my goodness. So actually, waiting for the No Kings rallies until you negotiate out of this shutdown makes you look even more ridiculous. Because the fact that the government shut down right now is proof that there is not a king. But I don't want to let common sense get in the way of a good, dumb rally. And you can tell. I mean, listen, we know what's going on with these two political parties right now. Red-blooded Americans are shifting very quickly to the right, especially young men. And, the big problem you've got on the other side right now, and you've seen reports, I've seen reports like this, where you've heard people anonymously talk about this on Capitol Hill in particular, that part of the problem is they're trying to figure out how to get back into the good graces of men, especially young men right now. And they don't know how to do it because most of the staffers for these people are, not red-blooded American dudes. They basically have women or beta males on these staffs. And it's like, well, no wonder you can't figure out how to connect with the people because you don't have the people on your staff that would connect with these people. But no one in the right mind would have a big rally 2 to 4 p.m. on a Saturday in the middle of college football season. Anybody look at the schedule? I mean, do it on a Friday afternoon or something. None of you work anyway, so do it on a Friday afternoon. You get done with your job as a barista at Starbucks, and then you go do your rally. But 2 to 4 p.m. on a Saturday, I mean, you're wrapping up the 11 a.m. window. You get the start of the 2:30 window. You got big games going on across the board. Come on, what are you doing here?
Looks like there's one at Johnson County Community College at 1 o'clock on Saturday also.
Oh, really?
The 18th, yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, wouldn't want to miss out on that one either. Johnson County?
Yeah, one on the Kansas side.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for that, Mark. Good intel by you, buddy. I know you had to look that one up. So there's your show research for the day, Mark. You take the rest of the day off, okay? Take the rest of the day
off. The beauty
off.
is the reporting on this is they don't get any large group of people at any one. So there were like 19 gatherings. Yeah, of a dozen people. And actually, that was just a family waiting in line at the fast food restaurant. That wasn't a protest. So, that's
great.
The reporting is how many there might have been rather than how many people actually attended any one.
Yeah, they're just playing the big numbers game there. You're right about that.
Hocus pocus.
Yep. I mean, geez, you got Ole Miss, Georgia next week at 2:30. Yeah, but let's go to the No Kings protests, said nobody ever. Alabama,
and
Tennessee.
Indiana.
What game?
Oregon and Indiana.
Next week?
Yeah, 2:30, I believe.
Wow, that's a good game, too.
Actually, that's this Saturday. My bad.
All right. Easy does it there, Mark. Don't start.
know.
You know, you had a good moment there, Mark, and then you screwed it up.
I thought we had multiple rallies going on.
I know. No, Mark, quit while you're ahead, buddy. You had this great moment. You have this fantastic show edition, and now you're confusing people on when the Oregon-Indiana game is.
I know. You got to listen to the betting show tomorrow.
All right. What game are we going to tonight, by the way, for high school football?
So we found out we will be at Blue Valley West.
Okay.
It's a homecoming game. Another homecoming game.
All right.
Keep getting the homecoming games.
Do we know who they're playing?
They're playing Blue Valley Southwest.
Okay. So we were supposed to be at Gardner Edgerton tonight for our Friday night football broadcast, and we do it way different than anybody else does it. We actually have a student broadcaster from both schools join our professional play-by-play guy, Chris Kamler, who does a great job. And we call it the Drive to the Game. We do it with sportscaster.com, and it's all about building future broadcasters. And it's been a total home run so far for us. But we found out yesterday at the 11th hour that Gardner Edgerton, after giving us the green light, doesn't want us there anymore. I will not speculate as to why. I will just say they don't want us there anymore. So I'm making all these phone calls yesterday while I'm going up to Prairie Village and couldn't get anywhere with anybody. So this morning we start off the show and I'm like, we got to get a game to go to here. And I appreciate many of you reaching out. We had some ADs call in and say, hey, come down to us, come see us. How far would you guys travel? And we're grateful for every single one of you that reached out. But we did find out that Blue Valley West, where we have done a game before, so that makes it easier for us because we've done it. We know the equipment works. We know the technology is there. So we gave preference to someone where we had done a game before because we've got 10 hours to put this together. So we've got Blue Valley West tonight versus Blue Valley Southwest. That will air at 7 p.m. right here on KCMO Talk Radio. So had to scramble. That's part of the broadcasting deal sometimes. And unfortunately, we apologize to those of you who were fans out at Gardner Edgerton and Olathe East, Mark's alma mater. But for some reason, they just called us off at the 11th hour. And it's too bad. But we rallied. And that's the plan for tonight. So, is that a good one there, Mark? What do you think of that matchup tonight? You got a feel for it yet?
I mean, it's a rivalry game. So
yeah.
Anytime there's a rivalry game, no matter what the records, you throw them out the window.
I know Aquinas is playing Rockhurst tonight too, right?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest game in the Metro.
That's a good one.
At Aquinas, so that's going to be crazy.
But we already did an Aquinas game, and we did Rockhurst, a week or two ago?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we didn't want to go back to there immediately and show preferential treatment. You know, we picked these games, and we bounced all over the Metro. We picked the whole schedule before the season. Everyone's been great to work with. Thank you to the ADs, the principals, the secretaries, everybody has been awesome setting these games up for us and with us. And it's been a total home run for us. And hopefully it has been for you and the kids as well. But I'll tell you, I don't know what happened here. I've got my suspicions, but I don't want to say anything just yet.
We'll get another homecoming. It seems like all the big games, they have homecoming on those nights. So we're getting a big homecoming game. So
yeah.
That'll be fun.
It will be. It'll be a good game.